Today I want to talk about this new voice model that came out fairly recently. It's called F5-TTS and E2-TTS. And I just wanted to make a little quick demonstration video of this, basically this web UI that I'm working on for it, where I'm going to add a bunch of extra features and things that just basically make it easier to generate what you want from it, basically. But I want to also demonstrate how it works. And to start out, you can see here, this is the web UI that I've been working on. I fixed it to where you can select a reference voice, so basically you'll just be able to put all your voices into one folder and whatever subfolders you want to put them into, and you can pick, basically from this menu instead of having to click on this and then try to find where your audio files are, all that crap, because this can change, if you do anything in your web browser and try to save something to a different location, this is going to change the location, so you'd have to go back to where you had your voices saved. So this makes it relatively consistent, so you can pick where you want. And I'm just going to demonstrate just one of the default voices here to begin with. I also made it to where you can upload any kind of text document, so pretty much PDF or text documents or Word. You can upload them directly here and it'll automatically fill in the text. I'm just going to use this AI generated book that I had created as a demonstration, and you can see here that I've got a analyzer here which basically separates all these sentences and stuff like that. It'll pick up questions, it'll pick up quotes and stuff, and this just makes it easier for you to kind of discern all the different sentences and formations of text throughout the book itself. And also I've added a little feature down here to where you can pick what sentence you actually want to generate. Instead of generating the entire thing at once, you can pick out which sentence that you want it to generate. So I'm going to select the first sentence here, and I'm going to show you this is the reference voice.
6 spoons of fresh snow peas, 5 thick slabs of blue cheese, and maybe a snack for her brother Bob.
So she sounds like she's either British or English, so let's see how well it replicates her voice.
Rustic old man named Bob stood at the edge of a vast wasteland, marred by the remnants of a world once vibrant and alive.
And it sounded pretty freaking good in my opinion. And what I've found is like, if you want to generate different types of emotion, it really just depends on your reference audio. So if the reference audio has somebody speaking in a more angry tone, then it's going to pick up on that. So I'm going to demonstrate anger here. And I'm just going to switch to a short clip that I've got of Ryan Gosling from the movie The Notebook, where he's like yelling at her. And also got Kratos angry too. But here's the clip of him. He's talking to her. You remember the famous scene where he's like, "What do you want? What do you want?"
We're gonna have to work at this every day, but I want to do that because I want you. I want all of you forever. If it's with that guy, go.
Try and keep the clips, the reference clips, underneath 7 seconds. I find if you go any higher than that, you're going to start having issues. I've noticed that it creates artifacts if you go over 10 seconds. And I'm going to demonstrate that here in a minute. But let's just play this and see how it sounds. And I'm going to turn down the speed to about 0.7. And now we'll go ahead and generate this sentence. And you see that was actually really quick.
Rustic old man named Bob stood at the edge of a vast wasteland, marred by the remnants of a world once vibrant and alive.
Okay, his voice, the way he was yelling in the actual reference clip. So you don't have to specify that he's yelling in the actual text itself. In fact, if you put an exclamation mark in the actual text itself, it actually makes him sound more higher pitched. So I'm going to demonstrate that as well. I'm going to go ahead and generate it again with the exclamation mark right here. Right, and if I give it an exclamation mark, if you look at my analyzer here, it automatically picked up that it was an exclamation. So now when I generate this, you'll notice that his voice sounds higher pitched. So generally I don't use the exclamation mark unless I want them to sound higher pitched.
Rustic old man named Bob stood at the edge of a vast wasteland, marred by the remnants of a world once vibrant and alive.
You can see how crazy it made him sound at the end of it when you use an exclamation mark. So it's best just to put it as a normal sentence instead of just using the exclamation mark unless you want it for a specific use case. But as long as you're using the reference audio where they're kind of like yelling, yeah, it works itself out for the most part. So I also want to demonstrate some of the artifacts you might get, and also there's something else neat that I noticed about this. It actually replicates sound effects from the voice. I noticed that when I was using a Melina voice, so I'm going to switch to Melina from Elden Ring. I don't know if any of you guys know what that game is, if you played it. But this clip is from, she was kind of like in like a dungeon area, it's like a cave. You can hear the reverb in her voice. And it also replicates that reverb. So if you listen here to the audio clip.
I have set my heart upon the world that I would have, regardless of my mother's designs. I won't allow anyone to speak ill of that, not even you.
Whenever I make her generate whichever sentence I pick here, so let's see, his faded blue eye. Okay, we'll use this sentence here, and we'll go ahead and generate it.
His faded blue eyes, filled with a lifetime of wariness and wisdom, gazed at the ruins around him.
You can see there, it actually copied the reverb and shit from the background, which I think is really neat. And also I want to show you the other model here too, but let me generate this again because I was trying to showcase how it can have artifacting if it's over 10 seconds. So let's see if she does it this time.
Not even you.
For some reason, if it's over 10 seconds, it tries to put the last portion of the audio reference so you can hear it here.
Not even you.
Right. So that's the last portion of the audio reference, and it put that at the beginning of the generation. So for some reason, if you go over 10 seconds, you can get that artifacting from the last 2 seconds that were in the reference file.
Not even you. His faded blue eyes, filled with a lifetime of wariness and wisdom, gazed at the ruins around him.
You can kind of hear the difference between them. I'm going to click remove silences here and go ahead and regenerate it.
Not even you. Blue eyes, filled with a lifetime of wariness and wisdom, gazed at the ruins around him.
I mean, it's really personal preference, I think. You know, some people might say that this one sounds better. But I found in some cases this one will start to sound more robotic at times. But this one seems to be better at pronunciation and stuff like that. So it really is just basically use case, I think. So you can kind of pick and choose between them which one you think is the best for certain use cases. So that's why we have that option, you know. But I'm just going to let y'all listen to this reference audio here first. That way you can kind of get a sense of what he sounds like.
I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief, if not love persevering?
So he was the one that played Jarvis in the Iron Man movies, his talking computer. So I'm going to go ahead and generate this sentence here, see how it sounds. We're using the F5-TTS model.
And yet, with this newfound power, came a heavy price, the erosion of individuality and the erosion of what it meant to be human.
Switch to the E2-TTS model and TTS model, and then let's hear it again.
And yet, with this newfound power came a heavy price, the erosion of individuality and the erosion of what it meant to be human.
To be able to regenerate just a sentence alone. That gives you so much more leeway. You can go through and regenerate stuff and then kind of listen to it a couple of times. So I'm going to generate it again with the F5 because, I don't know, it's kind of a tough choice between the two, really.
And yet, with this newfound power came a heavy price, the erosion of individuality and the erosion of what it meant to be human.
It seems like he's kind of confused, you know, he's taking some time to try and figure out what he wants to say. So let's switch to a different voice. So I'm going to do Scarlett Johansson, and I'm going to let you listen to the example here real quick.
It seems like I'm having so many new feelings that I don't think have ever been felt before, and so there are no words that can describe them, and that ends up being frustrating.
So I've noticed with this reference, the way she talks in the reference audio, it tries to replicate that in such a way that she sounds like she's confused when she's trying to basically say what you want her to say. So I'm gonna go ahead and generate it here and just kind of see what I'm talking about.
And yet, with this newfound power came a heavy price, the erosion of individuality and the erosion of what it meant to be human.
So you can see there, she's kind of like confused and stuff like that. But let's do the E2. So you really got to be kind of selective about the reference file that you're using. And you really need to pay attention to how they're speaking, because it really does try to replicate just every little thing.
And yet, with this newfound power came a heavy price, the erosion of individuality and the erosion of what it meant to be human.
So you can see there, that was more consistent. So I think like the E2 doesn't really try to replicate the way they were acting in the clip itself. It more so just tries to replicate just the voice alone. So that, I think, is the main difference between these two models. This one tries to replicate the way they were actually acting, the way they were sounding, and the way their speech flowed, I guess, is the best way to describe it. While as this one mainly focuses on how the voice sounds and just trying to get it right, because I know she didn't sound as confused in this clip. So let's look at a different one here. I'm sure everybody knows who Morgan Freeman is here. I'm sure everybody will know what this clip is from too once I play it.
And when they fly away, the part of you that knows it was a sin to lock them up does rejoice. But still, the place you live in is that much more drab and empty that they're gone.
So you can see there, that's, classic Morgan Freeman from the Shawshank Redemption. Let's pick a good sentence for him. Yeah, let's do this one here, and I'm going to generate the sentence.
The hologram flickered, and a stream of data streamed into Bob's consciousness.
That sounds pretty good. Now let's do the F5.
The hologram flickered, and a stream of data streamed into Bob's consciousness.
It was kind of copying the way he was talking throughout the reference audio, so you really need to take note of that and pay attention to, like, if you're using reference audio where there's something that's in it that's glitched out, or they're saying things in a way that you probably don't want them to say it that way throughout the context of it, then you probably want to be very selective, basically, about what you put in there. So I'm also going to illustrate you can generate the entire book. Whatever you put in there, it will read it all. I'm just going to go ahead and generate this book, which shouldn't take too long. Usually don't take long at all. I want to make it to where eventually it generates it by the sentences within this analyzer, and just to have it a little bit more organized. And also I'm going to make it to where you'll be able to assign these numbers for each sentence to different characters, basically different speakers throughout the book. So you'll be able to assign these numbers to whoever you want them to be speaking it. And you could basically generate a whole book with different speakers, or a whole podcast, or whatever, and it doesn't matter how long it is, it would just go on forever. And maybe even make it to where certain things or whatever are labeled throughout the analyzer, and it would automatically assign the character to everything underneath that label, right? So whatever I can do to kind of make it easier and stuff like that, because I plan on using this for a lot of stuff going forward. And this is basically, to me, I like stuff like this because it kind of blows 11 Labs out of the water. 11 Labs is still really good, but you can't beat free, okay? I know that sounds kind of crazy, but do you really want to have to pay money for something like 11 Labs when you can kind of do the same thing locally, and they're not looking at your data and stuff that you're uploading and stuff like that? To me, it's not worth the violation in privacy, because sometimes you might want to generate stuff that you probably don't want other people to see. Stuff that is a little bit spicy and a little bit out there. You could basically generate a complete novel, within just a couple of hours. So to me, that is crazy. Just having that ability to generate that much text within a short period of time is nuts to me. Generation was 37 minutes long. That's crazy. So imagine being able to create entire audio books with just one click, and just having to sit there and you could create an entire audio book from your voice in just a few clicks. The implications of this AI technology is crazy. I don't think a lot of people have really grasped that yet.
Artificial questions Ray GPT 3.5. The air hummed with the sound of distant engines, a constant reminder of the world's plight. Rustic old man named Bob stood at the edge of a vast wasteland, marred by the remnants of a world once vibrant and alive. The desolation stretched as far as the eye could see, a post-apocalyptic landscape where nature had been laid to waste and towering skyscrapers now stood as crumbling behemoths. The dusty wind whipped through Bob's tattered clothes, carrying with it the scent of decay and desperation. Bob was just a speck against the harsh backdrop of his surroundings. His faded blue eyes, filled with a lifetime of wariness and wisdom, gazed at the ruins around him. He had seen it all, the rise and fall of civilizations, the irreversible destruction caused by humankind's insatiable thirst for progress.
It does a really good job, and you can always go back and basically edit it and change and regenerate the sentence that you didn't like, and just eventually I'm going to make it to where everything is all just laid out into a folder, so whenever it generates the entire group or whatever, it'll have like everything laid out, all organized and stuff like that, and you can just kind of go back through it and kind of change what you want about it yet. I'm not sure when I want to release this, but when I do, I will have it available on my Patreon. And I think that, a lot of people are going to get a lot of good uses out of this. Think about what you can do with it. I mean, let's say you have a loved one, somebody who passed away, but you still have a recording of their voice. You could basically have them read children's books to your kids, so that they get a sense of what your loved ones sound like, your lost relative that you haven't heard from in years. You'll be able to hear them again, and basically, like I said, with audiobooks, you'll be able to generate entire books in your voice without having to do so much work. So AI makes things so much easier for everybody. And that to me is the whole point of AI and progress in society, is making it to where we don't have to focus on things that are taking away our time and our ability to enjoy our lives. Okay? So if you want to be able to spend more time with your family and do things that actually matter and have actual personal connections and friendships and actually contribute to society in a way that you're not having to work like a slave in order to, actually have some kind of meaning in your life in society. I don't think that, I think a lot of problems in society now is this mentality that people think that they should have to work in order to basically have some kind of, to feel like they have a purpose, basically. You shouldn't have to work like a dog to feel like you have a purpose. And that's what I want to get across to people, is that this technology is going to make it to where you don't have to do that. And you can say that a lot of these big businesses and companies are going to take this technology and they're not going to care about the people. And I say, yeah, you're probably right about that. There is a lot of these businesses that are taking advantage of AI. That's why I'm showing you alternatives to using these websites like 11 Labs and OpenAI. I think that everybody should have a choice to whether or not they want to use something that they can basically use themselves, or use something that some big company is providing and monetizing and forcing you to have to pay a subscription model every month. And that, to me, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And I think everybody should have this information readily available to them. And this repo for this specific project is readily available. The only thing I'm doing is taking it and changing some aspects about it, making my own version of it. If I open up this version here, this is the original Gradio interface that comes with the project itself. I don't know if it's going to work now because I haven't tested it, but I'll go ahead and run it here and I'll show you the original Gradio interface that comes from their GitHub, because I ported a lot of stuff over from their interface to kind of save time. But we can see here, we'll just copy this link and go into the browser. And you can see here, this is their Gradio interface. So a lot of the features that they have here, I already have. And also, I have it where you can generate separate sentences at the bottom. And I've also got the sentence analyzer, all that stuff. And I've also got the select reference voices. So these are the things that I've added. And also where you can upload the documents and stuff like that. That's the things that I've added to it. But the things that they had was that I don't have is the multi-speech, which I plan on adding this to my interface. And I'm probably not gonna add the voice chat because I don't feel like it's that necessary for what this actually is. I mean, that's what I have iConvo for. I can always add this text-to-speech model to iConvo if I feel like it. Other than that, though, I'm probably going to add something like this with the multi-speech, where you can have different types of speech or different characters and just have them kind of do like a little podcast style talk or something like that. So you can see here the different examples that it's given. But I'm going to make it to where you can basically just select it in the interface and not have to type all this crap out next to every sentence that you want them to say, because I feel like that's kind of redundant. I mean, we're trying to reduce the amount of work that you have to do in order to use this crap. I say crap, but it's awesome. I really like it. I enjoy the fact that they're releasing these models and making them open source for everybody to be able to use. And I think that's important. I think that it's important that we kind of share our ideals about this technology and where it's going to go in the future. So if you have any questions or anything like that about me releasing this, please leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see me add something to it or something like that, because I'm probably going to add a few more features to it before I put it on my Patreon. And I'll also probably do another video. But I just wanted to demonstrate to everyone that, yeah, I have seen this, and I actually got a couple of other things that I want to demonstrate too that I think are important for people to see, because I think that people are looking at these new things like Runway, where Runway came out with basically you can make a character of yourself. You can basically transfer a style from a video or whatever, any kind of image or whatever, and make it look like you're an animated character. You can already do that locally on your computer. You've been able to do that for a while now, and I don't understand why the hype is about that. I guess it's because it's Runway. I don't know. They like to hype things up when they do stuff. Trust me, I've been working with AI for a long time, and I was making animations and stuff like that that were better than Runway's before Runway even existed. So trust me when I say that a lot of this stuff that they're showing you is available locally. You just have to have a powerhouse of a computer to be able to use a lot of that stuff. And a lot of times it can take longer for you to generate some of that stuff. And basically what you're doing is, by paying Runway or 11 Labs or any of these companies, you're just paying them to rent their hardware, pretty much. That technology that they're using is not that groundbreaking, okay? They're using stuff that already exists. It's open source. They're taking it and they're making it into an interface on the web for you to take advantage of, right? Basically, and you're paying to rent their hardware in order to use it. So you have to kind of decide, do I want to put my personal information out there, and do I want them to know, okay, I'm paying for this account, it's got my personal information on it. If I put something on there that's kind of shady that I don't want people to see, I mean, you're really exposing yourself there in the end. But if you guys like the video, please like, subscribe, tell me what you think about it, and take it easy, guys.